Welcome to the Payday with Rayray podcast, hosted by yours truly, Rachel Bell. I'm here to make your life easier as an entrepreneur and teach you everything I've learned about building multiple seven-figure online businesses. And on this podcast, I'll be giving you my best advice, trainings, and mindset shifts so you can grow your business and, most importantly, make every day your payday. Welcome back, Payday Babies, to another episode of Payday with Rayray. I'm so excited for the timeliness and the power and the potency of this episode because for a long, long time, I've been friends with this one chick who is one of my favorite chicks who has ever chicked on this earth. And she's sitting here with me today. Her name is Samantha Skelly. And if you've been following me on Instagram, which most of you have, if you haven't, at Rachel Bell, get it done. You've seen Sam in my stories, and typically the way she shows up is either, let's see, where does it even start and end? But typically when she shows up, she's singing, she is dancing, she's acting a fool. And what I love most about Sam is the fact that she is equal parts hilarious, light, silly, and also equal parts spiritual, and has this incredible depth and wisdom to her that I know she's one of the few people on this earth I can trust to have a clear and powerful transmission for whatever I'm dealing with. And if I ever feel like I'm in times of need and like someone to just lean on and give me some really rock solid advice that comes from a place of love and hope and just clarity, I can always rely on Sam. So I'm more than thrilled to have her on today's episode. And this has been a long time coming as well. We were talking this morning in the kitchen because we're roommates, by the way. By the way, plot twist. How crazy it is that we've never done a podcast episode together.
It's insane.
It's insane. So I'm just so excited to introduce you guys to Sam. I am going to brag on her for just a second. Sam is the founder of, I think, 2 seven-figure companies at this point now. She is one of the world's leading experts in the wellness space, helping people with disordered eating and overcoming binge eating disorder, I believe is the program that you run. And more than that, she started in the B2C space, basically helping clients overcome that herself and through her team. But then she transitioned into impacting even more people throughout this earth by offering facilitator trainings and certification trainings. So now she's really psyched and hyped on this new endeavor that she's embarked on, I think last year, called Pause Breathwork. So in today's episode, I wanted to give you guys a little insight into who Sam is, give you the rare and just such a precious opportunity to get to know her. And I know that you're going to love her just as much as I do by the end of this little transmission. So Sam, tell us a little bit about you. What are the 3 weirdest things about you? Let's just start right there.
First of all, thank you so much for that amazing intro. I love you.
I love you too.
And it smells great in your room right now.
Yeah, we lit some candles and incense.
Oh God, I feel like a better person just being here. The 3 weirdest things about me, Rachel. Oh my God. I feel like 99.9% of like my makeup is just like weird, you know?
Like your face makeup or like, your DNA?
Like my DNA. And probably my face makeup.
What do you put on your face?
You know, I think the art of being weird is what creates a lot of happiness. I love human expression. I love having a reaction on someone in a good way. So I'm like, how weird can I be in order to have this reaction on this person for them to be like, I can't believe she just did this.
Exactly. And that is my experience of you all the time. Like I've been living with you for, I think, almost 3 months now, and you continue to interrupt my patterns. Just every single day, you'll come back down into the kitchen and start swinging your neck around and doing high kicks, and you'll be like, "What's up, you little treat?" And I'm like, oh, man, this chick.
What did I say yesterday? I said the more self-love we have, the less fucks we give.
Exactly.
Right? And I truly believe that. I think a lot of my students, and probably your students as well, there's the imposter syndrome, or like, I don't know if I'm good enough, and what if they reject me? And oh, Rachel, like I know I'm graduated from OCA, but like getting out there, like, oh, that feels really scary. And I think my turning point in this and my ability to be expressive and weird is directly related to the depth that I go with my self-love and spiritual practice. And honestly, what it comes to is self-acceptance. When we don't have the need to be accepted by the outside world, and we've already met that need inside of ourselves, then we can have the fluidity to be weird as fuck because we don't have a dependent dependency on a need from the external world. And I think that's like the high level of like how I explain that one. Cause people do say, well, how are you so weird? Like you were just weird and expressive. And I'm like, I know it's because of the work that I do on myself and the work that I teach. And that I want everyone to be weird, you know? Life is so much more fun. Hashtag keep it weird.
Let's get weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 weirdest things about you.
So the 3 weirdest things is, number 1, I have this love of baby food. I just love eating baby food. I love it.
Wait,
straight up.
I didn't know this.
I know. My brother used to put baby food in my stocking as a child because I'm like so obsessed with it. I'm terrified to have a kid because they're going to starve to death.
So like, are we talking mashed chicken,
like
baby food?
Like everything, like the mashed potato one, the mashed chicken one, the chicken and pea one, like everything. Like I love things that are pureed. You know me. Remember when I went on that soup binge for a while? I was like just making soup because I love things that are pureed, like smoothies and soups. And so my first love of this puree life was a baby food. This is where it all began.
She didn't choose the puree life. The puree life chose her.
It's so true. So that would be definitely the first one. The second one, I have a fascination with finding different like how my voice can go sometimes, you know?
Hi guys.
So, yeah, I'll be like,
hi guys. Okay, so on this episode, we're going to talk about...
Or the Transformer voice where it's like,
hello, you are listening to Payday with Rayray.
I just like will sit in my room for hours and be like, what else could my voice do? That's part of the reason why I love having a podcast, because I'm like, I can just like do voices like this all day long, you know? And then the third thing that makes me super weird, it's a little bit of an interesting one. Like I'm the type of person in times of where the rest of the world finds things very serious. I'm always like, how can I fuck this? How can I make this funny?
So
right? How
true.
can I make this funny? And everyone's like, oh yeah, it's been a real blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but how about this? You know, and I'm like, throw in like something. I love contrast. Like we're going through this crazy contrast time at the moment.
Yes.
And I love that. And I'm like, how can I make things weird by like adding in contrast where it's like, this is why I love comedy so much. One of my secret like desires in life is just to quit everything and become a comedian and just do that and study the art of comedy, because I love contrast. I love surprise. I love catching people off guard. You know, I love breaking patterns. Like you said,
Yes.
like I just love the art of like breaking a pattern, because that's what personal development is. That's what coaching is, right? When we look at it in that context, it's like someone's running a story over and over and over and again. How can we interject that story and shake their nervous system enough, not to like put them in a traumatic spin, but for them to go, oh yeah, God, I've been living out this pattern. And so
Totally.
doing that through like the art of like comedy is really fun for me. And I infuse that into like my work and things like that as well.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up in times where things are so serious, how can you add humor? That's why I'm loving being quarantined with you right now. If you're listening to this podcast, you know, months or years into the future, right now it's like March, 18th?
Yeah, 18th.
We're currently in the beginning of, you know, being self-quarantined with this coronavirus COVID-19 thing going on. And I couldn't be more delighted to be trapped in a home with someone who has an amazing sense of humor. So thank you for contributing that.
You're
And
so welcome.
again, I just think that you have this contrast of like this hilarious comedian, Sam Skelly, and all your Skelly-isms. I mean, you love tacos as well. That's one of your main pinpoints of being Sam Skelly. And you even have, I actually saw this the other day. I didn't ask you about it, but I saw it and I was like, that makes sense. You have a taco fanny pack.
Because I love fanny packs.
And you love tacos.
And I love tacos.
So it's a fanny pack shaped like a taco. Anyway, but you also have this depth and this spiritual side of you that I'm excited to dive into as well. Yeah, even in the midst of this, you know, pandemic and this crisis that the world is labeling it, it's funny because when you were shopping for food just to prep up for quarantine, you were standing in front of the freezers and saying, what would I like for my last meal? And
what would be nice as my last meal on earth before the corona gets me? Just joking.
Right. We understand the seriousness and we can still laugh.
And that's the thing. It's like, I absolutely know how serious this thing is. Like, I have so much compassion, a depth of compassion for what is going on in the world. And you and I are both abreast to exactly what's going on and how we can best protect ourselves. But I think there's a huge difference between contrast, as we talked about, of what we're going through right now, and just straight up fear.
Yep.
Right. And when we don't have fear, we have the ability to see the other side of it. As much heaviness and exhaustion and just darkness there is in the world right now, everything's in balance. So there is also the lightness, but we're not paying attention to the lightness because everything that we're seeing is in the darkness. And that goes for this global, epidemic that we're going through right now, but also on a micro scale in our lives or in our businesses, right? It's like, I know I am sometimes guilty of this. I'll look at my business and I'm focused on the things that I got to fix, change, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, wait a second, Sam, look at all the amazing things and how can we add lightness in a time where it potentially can be a little bit dark. And I think the fluidity and the ability to sort of weave energies together is what keeps us alive, or else we'll just like, if we spend way too much time in one energy, we deplete our system and we're not in well-being. Yeah. Well-being is balance.
One thing you've taught me over the past few months of just living with you and hearing your perspective on whatever issues we are facing together or separately is just this reminder that we are not the light, we're not the dark, we're the love that holds it all. And that there is contrast, and dark insinuates light and light insinuates dark, and there can't exist one without the other. Otherwise there's no balance. And what I've noticed in you is this radical acceptance of all the things and sprinkling humor on top just to give us perspective and like an orientation shift. Because I'm sure that we can all agree the problems that we used to take seriously a month ago are no longer serious problems anymore in light of everything that's happened.
Remember a few weeks ago when I was talking to you in the kitchen and I was bawling my eyes out and my teardrops were dropping into my coffee mug? It was like the most hilarious scene, you guys. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I was being dramatic about something, obviously, that I forget about now because it doesn't matter. And I'm telling Rach that I'm bawling and teardrops are just dropping in my coffee mug. It was
and
like,
then she drinks it and I'm like, hey, dude.
It was like the start of a great country song. Like, her teardrops were in her coffee mug. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
But that's a good point. That is a good point. The things that we cared about last month, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, right now, as we're in this place of more survival energy, we look back at those and we go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I was in that drama circle with myself. What a beautiful lesson on how to navigate that and shrink down those problems and have perspective. So next time those quote unquote problems come in, I know exactly how to deal with it. We're in a contraction period right now where there's so much opportunity for us to just wake up and have perspective of how we used to live, because so much of what we're stressing about is just so irrelevant.
So irrelevant. And even applying that same thing to now and not letting now be the heaviest point by adding humor and lightness and perspective by saying like, it could get a lot worse. So right now is actually not that big of a deal in retrospect. And that's just one thing that I love zooming out with. So bringing this back to how we can apply this in our everyday lives, because I think that we can all have this metaphysical, like 30,000 foot view on the situation. And if you're listening to this podcast episode, you probably cognitively agree with us. You're like, yeah, that is true. But you might still be in a state of fight or flight. You might still be experiencing some anxiety, some like tension in your heart space or in your belly. Like, just scan your body right now if you're listening and see if your jaw is tight. See if you've been crinkling your forehead and getting those early wrinkles. See if you've been just holding your breath. See if you've been like tight. Do a quick body scan and just realize that you hold so much tension in your body. So Sam, this is one of the things I've also learned from you is how much we can release through something very free and very abundant and always 100%, no matter what situation or where we are, who we're with or whatever, is always available to us, which is the breath. So when I say breath work, a lot of people are like, okay, does that mean like breathing like that? What does it really mean? What are the practices? And also, how did you even get into this space? Because you're going from one wellness industry to another one that's very complementary. But what was your journey in discovering that this is what your life's mission is right now?
Yeah, this is such a great question. So my first company, Hungry for Happiness, the reason why I started that was because of my own struggle with my eating disorder. So when I was young, I was a child actress and a dancer. So while everyone else was going to school, I was going to set and doing school on set. I had a very different childhood. And what I experienced at a very young age was just a lot of stress on my body, a lot of not good enough stuff, a lot of rejection. As a child actress, it's like I'm being rejected every single day. As a dancer, it's like, okay, well, you need to be this size and competition. And it was just a lot at a very young age. And I love performing and I love the art of it, but there was a dark side of it that manifested as a really bad eating disorder later in life. So 18 to about 23, I went through this period called my diet depression, where I was on 50 diets in less than 4 years and I couldn't eat like a normal person. I had so much anxiety around food. I was constantly counting calories and had to exercise 2 hours a day, every single day, for me to be acceptable or good enough. And that really unhealthy relationship with food and my body just constantly kept me in states of just feeling unsafe in my body. I had no certainty and I had no safety. And it was this like deep hole that I was trying to fulfill through being a fitness competitor. If I just like distract myself enough and be a fitness competitor and it's the glitz and the glam and the meal plans and everything, and I was so structured, then I'll feel safe. Then this feeling will be fine. And what I realized was all I was doing was putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds. I was trying to heal my emotional issues with dieting and exercise. It went from food addiction to exercise addiction, where I had to work out. I had to, and it had to be for 2 hours a day. And all of these behaviors that the world saw as me being committed and me being dedicated. And oh my gosh, how do you have the ability to be so structured? All of that was the core root of that was I'm not good enough. I don't feel safe in this world and I am uncertain about everything. And so I was working so hard to create certainty in my life, which was external, of course, which never works because I didn't have it within myself. Yeah. And so Hungry for Happiness was birthed out of me navigating that journey and realizing that all of this is an inside job. And if I am going to heal the world of eating disorders, it's going to be with emotional and energetic tools, which was now that we have, as you mentioned, our certification program and all sorts of things, where I want every wellness coach to understand that it's not just about the food and exercise. In fact, that's such a small piece of it. What it's about is something so much deeper. So going back to how I was healing myself, I was living in Vancouver and trying to figure out how to end emotional eating and consuming everything. I listened to all the podcasts, all the books, consumed everything, but I was still struggling. So I read Eat, Pray, Love, and I'm like, going to Bali sounds like a great idea. So I went to Bali.
When in doubt, go to Bali.
Yeah, exactly.
Not right now.
Not right now because the borders are closed and you'll be screwed. But I went there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get into meditation. I'm going to get into like all this energy stuff that people talk about. And I really didn't know my head from my ass. I didn't know what I was doing. My mom's like, why are you going? I'm like, I don't know. And so I went to, there's this town there called Ubud. And it's to this day, it's amazing. We got to go there one day. It's just freaking awesome. And there's the studio there and they were doing meditation classes. I ended up being late for a 2 p.m. meditation class. And the next available class was this breathwork class. And I look at the community board and I'm like, breathwork. I'm like, I know how to breathe. Like that's, I've been doing this for a while now. I'm like, and then, they say like breathe and meditate in yoga. I'm like breath to movement. Got it. Like, do I really need to do this? So I was like, screw it. What else am I going to do? The class was 3 hours and I'm like, that's aggressive, but I know. I'm like, I'm just going to do this anyway. So I go in there and everyone's sort of lying down. There's pillows and blankets. It looks like some sort of adult sleepover or orgy or something. I don't know what it's going to be. Like, I'm not sure. Crazy things happen in Bali. There's this dude there all dressed in white. He looks like Jesus. And he comes out to me and he's like, are you ready to go on the ride of your life? And I was like, what is going on here? And I'm like, surrender, Sam, surrender. That I read the Surrender Experiment. They just say, just go with it. So I just went with it. And for somebody who at that point in my life could only experience numbness or anxiety in her body, what I felt in those 3 hours was just unbelievable. I felt everything from joy, bliss, happiness, just contentment, self-love. Like I finally felt what self-love feels like. Before I was like, well, it's, manicures and handbags. And I'm like, no. It's this like,
it's stickers on your mirror
exactly.
saying you are beautiful.
You're the best, Sandra. Sandra, you go, girl.
Right. It's so much deeper. So you actually got to feel that sensation.
I got to feel it. I'm like, my body can do this? And then I felt everything from sadness to grief to just anger. And I got to feel alive, you know? And again, it was me observing myself going through all these experiences, but not identifying with any of them. My story when I had an eating disorder was I'm anxious. I'm just an anxious person. And so I looked at the world through a very anxious lens, and everything I did was coming from this place of anxiety. And so I sort of got up and I'm like, what the heck? Like, my body has the ability to do this when I clear away the dust of all residual emotionality and I'm left with just the purity of who I am. And I was like, whoa. So then I took every facilitator training on the market. I studied with some of the top pioneers in breathwork, who were all like 95-year-old men, by the way. And I just bought every book. There was only like 4 at that time, right? I just became a student of this work. And then I began to realize how it shifted everything for me in the realm of emotional eating and binge eating and exercise addiction. I was like, wait a second, the very thing that I'm trying to get through using food as a drug is available through me using my breath. What? Yeah. That's amazing. And so I began to just use breathwork as a tool to heal myself. I was like, I want to start teaching my Hungry for Happiness clients this eventually when the company was started. And so I did. And then I started to see amazing results in them. And they were saying that breathwork was one of the greatest things to help end emotional eating and exercise addiction and body image issues. And then I was like, well, gosh, if it works for them, who else can this help? You know, and from there, that's when Pause was born about 2 years ago. Do you remember that time? Yeah.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
know. Like,
I do remember.
We're planning our next facilitator training, and I'm like, I feel like I've been doing this for my whole life. You know, there's a part of me that like it's flown by in one sense, but then I'm like, this has been in me for so long that it feels forever. So then I began to see how breathwork can help so many people, you know, and my hope for just sharing this is for, you know, entrepreneurs are just basically walking bundles of anxiety a lot of the time, you know?
Preach.
You know, it's like in my journey, especially starting out, like I was driven by anxiety and motivated by anxiety. And a lot of what I did was fear-based motivation.
Exactly. Like even if it doesn't manifest as anxiety and you don't like necessarily identify with that label, like for me, I was so good at shutting off my fear and just ignoring it and suppressing it that I was like, I don't really struggle with that much anxiety. Used to when I was younger, but it's not a thing for me now. Little did I know, I was actually just really fucking good at suppressing it and ignoring it. But really that exists in all of us because we're our own providers.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And there's so many human needs that we're trying to meet through entrepreneurship that when those things are not, again, going back to the whole safety thing, when those things are not met within ourselves and we're relying on our businesses to meet those needs, everything is going to become that much harder.
Exactly. And you'll experience disruption in every day of your life. If not right now, you probably will in the future. And like you said in the beginning of this episode, if you're relying on external circumstances to give you the validation, including your business, even though it can feel totally secure and you just had a fucking $1 trillion launch, good for you, you'll never feel safe with that amount of money in your bank account than you do right now, unless you get your internal environment in check. So that's just something I can say from experience.
It's so true. Like, look at how many things we try and look at all the ways in which we try and meet our needs through our business. You know, significance, of course.
Right.
You know, certainty. We try to get, you know, of course, uncertainty, love, connection, you know. I can remember in my early days when a client would be mad at me and I felt like I was dying. Yeah. I felt like I was freaking dying because I didn't know yet how to meet that need inside of myself in a really healthy, sustainable way. So when I would be rejected from the outside world, I would feel so depleted. Like, I don't even want to do this anymore. You know? So it's so interesting to use the power of breath work to be able to meet these needs. Because if you think about why we do everything, let's use it in the context of entrepreneurs, why are we doing everything? It's to feel something. Okay, well, if we know this to be true, and then we have a tool to be able to feel that very thing in any moment of the day, how much are we going to stop doing because we're just trying to get a need met. You know, like so many entrepreneurs, like, we're so busy. I'm so busy. I'm like, okay, well, if we look at actually everything that you do, how much are you doing to meet your needs? And how much are you actually doing to serve and push the needle forward? Yeah, it's such an interesting question.
Such an interesting question. One of my favorite questions that someone ever asked me, they were like, what's your goal for your business revenue? And I was like, $10 million per year. And the person asked me, well, why? And I actually had to sit back and be like, oh, why is that the number? Is that the number because I think that it's a number that will make me feel safe and secure and my team feels safe and everyone in my life feels safe and secure? Or is it the number that actually represents the most impact? Like, what is my actual motivation here? What is my actual, mindset in terms of what I think I should do versus what I want to do? And what is that feeling that would give me that I think is unavailable to me right now at the current level of revenue that I'm at?
Absolutely.
And we're just constantly chasing this thing. And the feedback that I got was, Rachel, more for the sake of more is called cancer.
So good.
And I was like, ouch, but also, yes, that fits so well. Just to share a little bit of how I got introduced to this breath work world and why I'm such a big proponent of it now, and I actually joined your facilitator program myself, is because I was invited over to Sam's house one evening. She's like, I'm going to have a few friends over for breath work. I'm like, that sounds fun. So I show up, I have my blankie, I have my sweatpants and my hoodie, and I made my journal because she told me to bring a journal. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be breathing. I don't know what I'm going to write down. And so I come over, I lay down, she goes through this whole breathwork experience. I think it was like 2 hours in length. It felt like 15 minutes. And throughout that experience, I definitely experienced every single emotion in the spectrum of emotion itself, from incredible amounts of fear, like I was drowning, to the most ecstatic bliss and surrendered, open, secure confidence that I've ever experienced in my life. And I've done a lot of different personal development work. I've done all the Tony Robbins events, as you know. I've done the NLP certification programs. I've done lots of healing work, inner child workshops, week-long trainings, meditations, everything. Breath work is the most easy and fast, maybe not easy, but the fastest thing that has gotten me to those states I've ever come across. It's amazing. And I know that there's two types of people listening right now to this. There's one type of person that's like, wow, that dynamic of an experience, sign me up. I want to get in there. I want to experience my full self. Let's go. Then there's another type of person who's like, that sounds out of control. Why would I put myself in a position where I would feel all that shit? What if it sticks with me? What if I can't move through it? What if it wakes me up to something I don't want to see? And what do I do with that? I don't want to just breathe myself into crying. That doesn't feel secure to me. Could you talk a little bit about what the benefit of it is? Because when we're talking about a chaotic experience that feels like, oh my God, it was everything. I think that's what stops a lot of people from taking risks and doing things that are outside of the realm of certainty. And they avoid a lot of other things like that in their life too. So why is this beneficial for everyone, especially the people who resist feeling out of control?
So the thing with breathwork is you have to realize you are in control the entire time. So Rachel and I are talking about these experiences where we were high and low and everything in between. Breathwork can be so simple to start with. And we're going to do some on the show, so keep listening. And I'll show you exactly how we can change your state through 3 minutes. It's so powerful because think of it as like a gas pedal. What intensifies the experience is the duration and the depth and the speed. So when we are going slower and maybe your window of tolerance for feeling is much smaller than someone else's, which is totally fine, we have to work with our body. We have to breath work. It's all about building the relationship with our body so we can increase the capacity to feel and we can increase our tolerance. And so if you're in the bucket of, wow, that sounds scary. I don't even know. There's a way that we can ramp up. There's a way that we can start so slow. You can begin to introduce your body to the sensations. You can stop at any time. And that's what creates safety in the body. And so as we're moving through the breath work, keep checking in with yourself. Keep asking yourself, does this feel okay? Does this feel safe? How do I feel right now? Can I open up a little bit more? Can I go a little bit deeper and a little bit faster? Or is this great? You know, what we need to realize with breath work is the body's the healer and the body knows exactly what to do when we breathe and let it, which is why so often people will say, well, why am I crying? It's like, because your body knows what to release and where the stuck emotion intuition is. And that's the beautiful thing. And when we constantly try and think about how to feel better, we're caught in this feedback loop of just thinking, which is driving the sensation and higher. And it's going to be harder to break it down and actually clear it. So when we're just starting out, it's important to keep checking in with your body. Don't let your mind decide if enough is enough. Let your body decide. And that's when we surrender the answers to our body, we build a feedback loop that tells our brain our body knows more than our brain, which it does.
Like, think about every single time you've listened to your gut. It led you to where you needed to be. Maybe not the place you wanted to be, but exactly where you needed to be. And my biggest invitation to you, we're going to dive into a live breathwork exercise so that you can use this for future. And then I'm going to introduce you to where you can go deeper if this really hits deep with you. But my biggest invitation to people who are kind of embarking on this breathwork journey, because let me tell you, it will be a journey. My invitation for you is to don't be attached to what you want to experience, be attached to the truth. Because breathwork brings up the truth. And sometimes when we refuse to look at our truth and when we're suppressing what we actually want, what we actually desire, what we're actually afraid of, we're living in this illusion where we're scared it's all going to crumble. But let me tell you, the most stable thing that you can always rely on is your truth and the truth. And breathwork brings that to the surface faster than any amount of conversation or processing cognitively can do. So just be open to the truth. Let go of everything else. So
I love that so much. It's so true. And even when I am feeling conflicted or confused in my business, I bring it to breath. I bring it to breath. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this exact exercise, which I'm going to take people through, and the answer will come. Things will become so clear. And I'm like, there it is. Exactly. I don't need to ruminate on this anymore. I don't need to ask everyone for their opinion. I know it. I know it.
You know that quote that's like, what would you do if you weren't afraid? I feel like this exercise is the fastest way to actually feel that and be like, oh, I'm no longer in that fear. I'm in expansion. Let me just make the decision, take action. So it's an action tool. Before we dive into the exercise, could you outline some of the biggest benefits of doing this work? Like, what does it do for the body and the mind and the spirit?
Absolutely. So one of the greatest things about breath work is as we breathe in a conscious, continual way, which is what I'm going to teach, think of it as the mind is unhooking. The mind is unhooking from its survival control point of view. And what that does is it allows the energy to come from the body. It allows our point of focus to not be so identified with our mind, but our body. So at any point in time, we have our mind communicating to us, we have our emotions, and then we have our intuition. So when we are so identified with the messages of our mind, which is rooted in fear and scarcity and survival, and our emotions, which can be all over the place, we don't have access to our intuition. And so often what we've been trying to do for so long is fight through the mental, fight through the emotional so that we can get to the emotion.
Totally.
Right?
And you feel torn.
Yeah, totally. Whereas when we breathe, we don't need to fight through those layers. We just let go, boom, intuition. So you guys are going to feel as we do this breath, we're going to do some breath and then we're going to hold. You'll begin to notice how quickly you're dropping into your body and you don't have to fight your mind. And you don't have to fight your emotions. So that's the first thing, is like direct access to your intuition, direct access to your truth, to your channel, to your higher self, whatever terminology you want to use. The second really important thing is, because we are basically alkalizing the body, there are so many benefits to that as far as energy. Like, we have an incredible amount of energy. We're clearing out a lot of stagnation in the body. We're clearing out a lot of historical trauma in the system. And so when we do that, there's all sorts of benefits to that. But I would say number 2 is like energy. You're able to just have a new sense of energy because there's not so much stuck emotion in your system.
And if you find a midday crash in your day, you don't need another cup of coffee. You need this exercise. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. It's really just a beautiful way to quickly bring in new oxygen, shift up the energy, and it's sustainable too.
Reset button.
Absolutely.
Love that.
And then I think the third most important thing that we talked about is everything is driven by emotion in our state, right? So have you ever just done something ridiculous and right after you're like, I can't believe I did that. That was so stupid. right?
Totally. More often than I like to admit.
It's because our inner child and the parts of us that need love are trying to externalize them, right? And so breath work is the quickest way that we can change our state, so we change our behavior. So anytime that we're feeling out of control, anytime that we're feeling in scarcity, anytime we're feeling fear, we can shift our state so we can have a different action, have a different behavior. So that's just 3 of like 5,000. All right. So what we're going to do, are you ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
Let's breathe.
So the mantra we'll use is, I am safe, I am powerful.
I love that.
I am safe, I am powerful. Power is inner. There's a depth to power. Power is really quiet.
It's different than being strong.
So what we're going to do is the breath pattern we're going to use is called the tri-active breath. And it's in 3 parts. We're only using the mouth. So we're not nose breathing. It's only the mouth. We bring the...
Calling all mouth breathers. Now is your moment.
Now's your time to shine. That's it, Karen. So we want to bring in the oxygen into the belly, up into the chest, and out through the mouth. So it sounds like this. That's it. And as we do this, as we move the energy, I want you to think of, you're not breathing in oxygen. I want you to breathe in power, and I want you to breathe in that felt sense of safety. And as we're exhaling, I want you to exhale any fear, any scarcity, any tension, any stagnation, just what needs to leave your body. What is out of alignment? What's not in alignment with your higher self? And the mantra we're going to be using is, I am safe, I am powerful.
I am safe, I am powerful. Perfect.
All right. If you are listening to this podcast and you're in a car or in water, please do not do this. So either stop the car right now and go over to the side, get out of the bath, whatever you're doing, get out of the
ocean.
Get out of the ocean.
First of all, how are you listening to this in the ocean? I want your headphones.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But we're moving our body into another state right now. And so it's really dangerous to do it while we're driving. So just press pause. Sit, either lie down on a bed or a couch, lie down, or you can sit up, but just make yourself comfortable and be safe. Yeah. There we go.
Practice safe breath.
That's it. All right. Closing your eyes, just taking a deep breath in just to clear. And let's do one more. And just taking both hands up to your heart for just a moment and just repeating the mantra to yourself. I am safe. I am power. I am safe. I am powerful. Whatever feels good for you. Now resting your hands back down on your legs. And when you're ready, let's start together. That's it. Keep the breath moving. Keep it circulating. Moving the breath in a way that feels nourishing, a way that feels safe. Circulating the breath, moving the energy. I am safe. I am powerful. I am safe. I am powerful. If you want to slow down the speed and have more depth, you can do that. Your body is the guide. Let your body do the work. All you have to do is just breathe. Just allow. Your breath knows exactly what to do. Your breath knows exactly what to do. You are safe to breathe. You are safe to feel. Let the breath and the body guide. You may be feeling a little dizzy. That is totally normal. Keep checking in with your body. Your body is guiding you. Few more moments, another 30 seconds, seeing if we can go a little bit deeper for the last 30 seconds. That's it. And when you're ready, taking a deep breath in through the nose, as deep as you possibly can. Holding at the top. Holding your breath at the top. Feel the vibration and the energy. Feel the aliveness. Feel yourself being so deeply connected to your higher self. And when you're ready, relaxing the breath, bringing the hands back up to the heart. And just notice the aliveness, notice the tingles, the energy. That's it. Beautiful work. That's it. And just opening up your eyes. How do you feel?
Physically, sensations for me. Rachel Bell reporting in. Cold, like my body's, my extremities feel cold. I feel light, buzzing energy. So much energy. And I feel like, oh man, I feel like shaking my hands out or something, like, wow, how can I do something with this? Emotionally, spiritually, I feel just clear and open, like ask me anything type of vibe. Like I got the answer. And yeah, for me, it's a quick access. Initially, it took me probably like 30 minutes to 40 minutes to get there my first time. I had to move through a lot of stuff. And then now I feel like that's instant access with the more that I do.
Yeah. It's just because your body has remembrance of the sensation. And what's interesting, if we're going to take this even deeper, is the whole theme of remembrance. What we're doing right now is we're remembering who we actually are.
Yes.
Who we were before the world told us who we are. That was a few minutes, you know? And it's like, whoa, the world's different. Everything looks lighter.
It is different. If you have ever had like a psychedelic experience at all, you might have had an experience of having this incredible amount of body sensation and awareness and also mental clarity and that remembrance of like, oh, when every illusion and every perception and every belief falls away, what's left? It's like just this essence of who you are. You only got to call your drug dealer for this one, guys.
Exactly. You don't have to drain your old bank account to get this kind of high. You can get high off your own supply. So good. So beautiful.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all of your service and who you are and how you serve and how you give and how you pour your heart into it. It's going to make me cry. How you pour your heart into everything you do. It's so beautiful to witness you in your dharma, and it's so beautiful to witness you as a friend because I know your soul and I know your heart and I know how much you deeply care about every single one of your students, and I know how much of a freaking expert you are in what you do, and it's just such an honor to be in your space and to live with you and to see you do your thing and to see you impact thousands of people that you impact on a daily basis. Thanks for being born.
Likewise, sister. If you can spot it, then you've got it. And that's what I always say to someone who reflects something beautiful in me. I know that it exists within them. And that's the only reason why they're able to recognize it with such clarity and feel generous with giving that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And wow, if you just went through what we just went through, which hopefully you did, if not, please come back to this episode and revisit. and make sure that you're in a space where you can give this your full attention and presence. And yeah, your boyfriend might think that you're really weird. He might think that you're in your room doing something strange. Just tell him.
Is she masturbating again?
Why did she invite me? God damn it, this girl. She's so independent.
Hashtag boss babe. Taking care of business.
Single-handedly defeating the coronavirus, raising white blood cell counts all over the world through breathwork and masturbation, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
Oh my God. Okay. So, okay, if you are high off your own supply and you're like, how do I get some more?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can just rinse and repeat. But if you want to learn what this actually is, and more importantly, you feel the need to share, which you are probably a coach or a service provider listening to this, and your life revolves around giving and service. And if you're on the right track, your question and your true north is always, how can I give more? How can I give in a better quality way? How can I give from my true essence and my soul and from a place of clarity and not fear? And how can I give without wanting something back? How can I truly be in my generosity and create life-changing transformations? Breath work is one of those things I believe you can implement in absolutely any industry and completely change the paradigm that your clients or your friends, your family are living in, and your boyfriend listening to you in his separate room, change his life too. So listen, guys, I really want to introduce you to Sam and give you an opportunity to go watch her weird ass Instagram stories. So the first thing you need to do upon kind of coming back into your body, coming back into your awareness after that beautiful breathwork exercise is go follow her on Instagram. You're going to love what you see. She also does live Instagram sessions where she does breath work and occasional free classes and things like that. I attend them myself and I find it tremendously helpful. If I don't attend them through my phone, I just hear her in the other room breathing and I'm like, gosh, there she is again. So your Instagram handle is just Samantha Skelly, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Samantha Skelly.
That's
Skell
right.
Dog. And if you're feeling like a deeper call to go diving into this work and you're like, how can I make this a daily practice? And how can I have a more regimented thing? Because I think the problem and the difficulty with meditation and adopting these practices into our life is that we don't have anything to show up to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just riding on us and our own control, doing something that we're completely inexperienced with, keeping ourselves accountable. There's a certain percentage of us, probably 90%, that are like, yeah, I really want to do this, but I also know myself. I need something to follow, like a course, curriculum, someone to keep me accountable. So with that being said, I know that you have something that they can dive into. It's just called Journey, right?
It's called The Journey, which is a 6-week breath work journey. And it goes through a lot of the principles that we talked about in this podcast of how to actually access this felt sense of safety in our body, how we can begin to trust ourselves, how to develop that, visceral intelligence so we feel so confident, so alive, which obviously is so applicable to your audience of entrepreneurs who, feeling that confidence in themselves. We work through inner child work of how we can begin to give ourselves what we need so we don't act out. So it's a 6-week course with videos and breathwork audios that you can do at home, and you have lifetime access to this, reflection, the whole bit. So what Rach and I are doing is the course is only $200, and what we're doing is we're going to give you guys $50 off just because
discount.
So
get your discount.
The access code is Rayray.
One word, Ray.
Rayray. And you can jump right into that. What a beautiful time. If you're watching this at the time of releasing, we are going to be indoors for a while. So buckle up. Let's do this. If you are feeling a deep call to incorporate breath work into your existing business, I know you have a ton of health coaches, wellness coaches, personal trainers. You guys, I am telling you, there is nothing that creates a deeper transformation in your clients than breath work. It will amplify everything that you are already doing. Everything that you're already doing. I was a personal trainer for 7 years. Had I had breath work to help my clients, oh my goodness gracious. And so my intention is to educate people and help them use this powerful modality so that they can use it in their businesses and become more impactful and therefore charge more and be just more valuable to your client because you're creating sustainable transformation.
Literally change their freaking lives through something so simple, but so needed.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why, as a business mentor, you may not think that breath work is applicable. Psych, it is, because we need to trust ourselves. We need to get into the space of emotional clarity. And that's why I enrolled in your Pause Facilitator training as well, to learn me up some stuff about how to facilitate this.
It's powerful. And not only will you graduate with the ability to teach breathwork underneath our brand, it is a huge it's a 6-month personal development journey. You know, you go through the work before you teach the work. And that's one of my, my big things with everything that I do. Until you teach it, you gotta embody it. And so embodiment and just growth for the facilitator is just so important to me. So you'll be here in San Diego. Maybe we'll get Rachel to come visit while you're here training.
I can visit for sure. I might be there in class with you.
Yeah, there you go.
Still need to get active on my membership.
There you go.
Yeah. But so guys, just to recap, follow Sam on Instagram, Samantha Skelly. And the next thing you absolutely got to do is check out the journey. What's the URL? And I'm put it in the show notes as well, but what's the URL they can go to see that?
pausebreathwork.com/the journey.
pausebreathwork.com/the journey. Your discount code for $50 off is Rayray. My baby. And then if you feel called to just fucking go and press down on that gas pedal, live into this new paradigm of what Sam's doing to lead the entire globe towards a different level of consciousness, and you want to be on board at the beginning of this early adoption phase, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of getting in early and preparing and making sure that you're on the upward slope of what's going to change the world next. Check out pausebreathwork.com/facilitator.
And then just let us know that you heard it from Rayray.
That's it. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for participating. And thank you for taking this seriously, because your emotional well-being is truly the precursor to every other area of your life in the space of well-being, including the well-being of your business. In fact, I believe that a business can only be as good as the entrepreneur who runs it. So embarking in personal development journeys and personal development exercises are just something that you have to do if you want to up-level your business.
100%.
You have to be an energetic match for whatever you want to bring in. And this is the quickest way to get there. So Sam, I love you so much.
I love you.
I love doing one thing to wrap up our episodes. When I'm with someone who I know deeply and like we're in person together, sharing one thing about each other that you wouldn't know through watching social media or Instagram.
I love this.
Yeah. So let me think. What's one thing you wouldn't know about Sam Skelly? Oh, I know mine. Okay. So one thing you wouldn't know about Sam Skelly, just from watching her Instagram, is this is great, is that she is kind of the master of stains. I mean, it's so true. It's like a funny thing that I just realized this week. I'm realizing that like whenever you come downstairs, there's always a little stain on your shirt, or whenever you are done making breakfast, there's always a stain on the counter, and like there's always a stain like in your room. There's like so many weird stains, and you attract them too. It's not always your fault. You attract them. Like once there was this dog in our house and shit on the rug in her room, and it was just a stain, and it was funny. But anyway, I just feel like you always leave your mark, Sam.
All right. One thing you would not know about the amazing, glorious Miss Rachel Bell is this girl has a lifelong history of saving little birds who crash into windows.
I don't know if I saved them.
Rachel knew everything. She's like, okay, well, this is what happened. She took it in a little...
Okay, well pre-frame. What just happened before we filmed this or recorded this podcast episode? We were sitting down and boink, like into my glass window, a bird flew, and it was just kind of laying on the ground. So anyway, on to you.
And I was like, oh my God. Rachel's like, oh yeah, this used to happen all the time as a child. She's like, it looks like its neck's broken. I'm like, how did you just analyze that bird and its injury? This is amazing. And so you would not know that because that is not something you share on Instagram.
No, I
Your
normally
intelligence for saving birds who run. She's like, okay, how do we do this? She put it in a beautiful towel, took it downstairs. We're going to babysit it for the next couple of days.
Yeah, see how it does.
Really nurture it back to health.
Without touching it, because obviously if you touch it, you can't get your oils on its feathers. It's a whole thing. Guys,
Really?
you want to be careful with these birds.
And you also don't want to give the bird the coronavirus.
God. Not that we're carriers. We are asymptomatic and clean. Anyway, yes, I definitely don't Instagram my bird instance.
There's so many. Oh my gosh. There's so many things that I could share.
I know.
You're just a wild, beautiful human.
You too. All right. Well, we're going to continue crushing on each other and probably go downstairs and make some pancakes and eat
that
those.
sounds so good.
But we will leave you guys to it. Again, check out pausebreathwork.com/journey.
The journey.
If you're interested in the journey, the 6-week course. If you're interested in being a facilitator, go to pausebreathwork.com/facilitator and sign up for that shit. Sam, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Ray. I love you.
Love you too. And guys, if you love this episode, let us know on Instagram, tag us up, and we would love to stalk you, connect with you, and of course, invite you into other opportunities to step into your truest self, your potential. Until next time, until next payday, have a great week, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did find it super valuable, you just want to share it with the world, make sure you screenshot, post, and tag me on Instagram so I can stalk your profile and we can connect more. And to get notified on the next episode here on Payday, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes so you never miss a beat. Get out there, secure the bag, and I will see you next payday.